Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
Welcome back to the Gay Buddhist Fellowship. Our tradition is to go around and introduce ourselves first, and then we'll hear from our speaker. My name is Tom.
I'm Jeff.
My name is Robert.
My name is Mark.
I'm Don.
I'm Lee.
Peter.
My name is Harley.
I'm Roy.
I'm Jerry. Jeff.
Matthew.
Larry.
I'm Clint.
I'm Pat.
Thanks, Dennis.
My name is Kath.
I'm Ken.
Jack.
I'm Frank. David.
Kevin.
Michael.
Paul.
And John.
I'm Hal. My name is Jim.
Leor.
I'm Richard.
George. I'm Tom.
I'm Mike.
Silas.
I'm Greg.
My name is Michael.
I'm Brad.
I'm Max.
Great. So today we have the pleasure of having back with us again Eugene Cash. Eugene is the founding teacher of the San Francisco Insight Meditation Community. He teaches at Spirit Rock Meditation Center and leads intensive meditation retreats internationally. His teaching is influenced by both Burmese and Thai streams of the Theravada tradition, as well as Zen and Tibetan Buddhist practice. He's also a teacher of the Diamond Approach, a school of spiritual investigation and self-realization developed by Almaas. Eugene, welcome.
Hi everybody, nice to be back here with you. It's been a while. It's funny to hear my bio. It's like, oh, it's a different person. I'm trying to think, who are they talking about? It was an accurate bio at some point.
You want to hear that guy speak too, right?
Absolutely. Might be better than this guy. We'll see. So here's what I was thinking about talking about for today. We had an election, and a lot of people have had a reaction to the election. Has that happened here at all? And that's been happening in my sitting group, and it's been happening all over, depending on which side you might be on. Either it's been positive or negative. And again, we live in a certain bubble here in the Bay Area, and so mostly it's been negative about the election. And one of my students, after I'd given a few weeks of talks about the election, politics, practice, he said, "Oh, can you talk more about how reactive people feel about the election?" And I don't know, anybody here feel reactive? No, and it's great if we can talk about that a little bit, because I actually was thinking I was going to do a talk here some version of a talk I did the other week at San Francisco Insight about the election as catalyst. Donald Trump as a catalyst. And a catalyst is, I like the word, a catalyst has to do with something that changes or transforms things or wakes things up. And Donald Trump has had that impact on a lot of us. He woke us up because we've been living with a president who was quite civilized and mature as a person for 8 years, and very kind and, not perfect or anything, but wise in many ways, and definitely human. He was very human and very relational. in his humanity. And now we've got a different president, and like I said, people are having reactions, and there's been a lot of talk about his catalytic impact on Buddhism and on people in general, and what does it mean to the big question that came up that I keep hearing is, okay, what do we do, right, about this? What do we do? And what happens if we don't do anything? Because that's a concern for many people about what could happen given the, I have my own opinions about Donald Trump. One of my opinions are, he's a TV president. Like, that's where he got his power, was from his TV show, really, and from his tweets. That's his big mode of communication, which is very modern, actually, a very social media appropriate reality. And I'm looking around the room. How many people here are under 30? Okay, great. Thank you for joining us. No, I mean that seriously. Because
how many are under 40?
That's another question. I could keep going, but that's one of the pieces that we deal with in this culture, because we're not connected in a way. We're each in our different groups, whatever our groups are. And groups are fine. I don't have any problem with groups. But when we miss the other groups of people, we have problems because we don't take them into consideration, or they don't take us into consideration, and we're not taking care of one another together. And so Buddhism is very, clear about that. Here, I'm going to read you a couple things about Buddhism. But it's very clear that it's about we're all here together. We're all here together, and it doesn't matter what the particulars are that define us, whether it's gay or straight or trans, whether it's black or white or brown, whether it's Republican or Democrat. We're all here together. And that's for better or for worse. We're here together. And often it doesn't feel like it's for better, and especially given the election and in my opinion, the lack of maturity of the person who got elected. And so I was looking at the reactivity that people have been experiencing, and I was thinking about, okay, where is Buddhism at? And so I'll begin with this one quote from the Buddha. He says, "It is in this way that we train ourselves. It is in this way that we train ourselves, by liberation of the self through love. By liberation of the self through love. We will develop love, we will practice it, we will make it both a way and a basis, take our stand upon it, store it up, and thoroughly set it going." This is from one of the ancient teachings of the Buddha, which is, this is a teaching about love. And so part of our practice then is, when is there love here, and when isn't there love here? And we want to be aware of that and see what supports our love and our care and our kindness and our gratitude and our warmth and our inclusivity and our big picture view, which means it's the big heart that's being pointed at. And then what blocks that? What keeps somebody out of your heart? Right? What keeps anybody out of your heart, and why? And we want to investigate that, because Buddhism is a practice. Key practices in Buddhism is mindfulness and investigation. Mindfulness and investigation. And so we want to see, and we don't want to judge ourselves when somebody's not in our heart, or when we don't like somebody, or where we hate somebody, because that's going to happen. But we want to see, oh, what's true? Why is that happening? What's supporting that? What are the causes and conditions that nurture love, or that nurture the opposite of love, non-love? And as I said, Trump is kind of a catalyst that has really lit people up, because a lot of people, probably not most people here, but there may be some, I don't know, but a lot of people are actually really happy that Trump got elected, right? Which, again, in the Bay Area, I'm not hearing a lot of that, right? But we live in a small bubble here in the Bay Area. It's one of the reasons why many of us live here and enjoy living here, is because it's a bubble we can relate to very easily and very comfortably. And so here's another reason I thought about talking about this in general. Somebody who I care about a lot, an old friend, very wise woman. She's an intuitive, which I'm not an intuitive. I'm just like, show me. I'm a show me guy. But she's an intuitive, and I respect her. And so she sent me something from some shamanistic tradition that she's part of about the election. And the concern from the shamanistic perspective was how reactive people were to Trump, and that it wasn't helpful, given that he's probably not going to be so helpful in general. And so they were saying, oh, what's needed is to care about him more, because that's what he's been missing. And that's what his psychological suffering is nurturing, that he ended up becoming, whoever he is, and this rich guy who's now president of the United States. And he's still trying to get loved in some way, shape, or form. And so I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. I understand that. That makes sense to me, because what are we all looking for, really, right? Except care, kindness, happiness. In Buddhism, Dalai Lama would say, oh, we're all looking for happiness, right? That's a normal human thing. And we're all going about it in different ways, depending who and what we are, and what our history's been, and what the culture we live in, and the politics we live in, and the understanding we live in has been, so that we go seek happiness in the ways we think we'll get it. And so in Buddhism, and I'm gonna equate happiness with love, or care, or kindness, or value. That we should all be valued for who we are, for exactly who we are. And by who we are, I don't mean for our opinions. I don't mean for our ideas or beliefs. I mean, we should be valued for the living reality that's sitting here, that will not be here forever, that is only here for a short time in this world, right? Like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, and then it's gone. But this living reality, in my understanding and in my experience, is totally miraculous, right? I mean, it's just, and it's the same and it's different at the same time. And that's a real Eugene kind of teaching, meaning I like paradox, because I think the Dharma is paradoxically pointing us at the truth. And the truth is, we're all the same and we're all different at the same time. And they're both true and both important. And so we don't want to lose one for the other. And meaning, I don't want to say, oh yeah, we're all so unique, and so we're not together. No, we are together, even though we are all totally unique at the same time. And I'll hopefully throw in a little more about that. So the piece that here, I'll just tell you. So I was looking around for what did I want to teach this morning. And I thought I was going to really talk about the catalyst piece that I'd done a week ago. But I thought, oh no, I'll mention that. And I found another talk that I haven't given or looked at in a long time. It's got, I don't know, 10 or 20 years. And it was called, let me see, Mindfulness as a Practice of Love. Or Mindfulness as a Path of Love. It might have been Dharma as Path of Love. And the quote that I was riffing off of when I created the talk is from the Buddha. He said, hatred never ceases by hatred. Hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is hatred healed. This is the ancient and eternal law, right? This predates Buddha, right? He's pointing at an eternal law, that hatred never ceases by hatred. So that starts to give us some information about how to relate to what we don't like, or what we're unhappy about, or what we might disagree with, or what we might hate. We're not going to get what we want by just going with the hate. There's something more being asked of us in Dharma practice and in life in general about how we're going to relate to what's not what we want, but what is. And so for myself, and I assume for all of you, part of the reason you're here is because you care about Dharma practice. You wouldn't come to a meditation group if you didn't care about it. It's not that exciting, really. Right? I mean, it can be once in a while. But, and maybe I'll give a good talk, but I could just as easily not give such an interesting talk. And you don't have to tell me later what it was. But it's just part of the reason you're here. There's something heartful about why you're here. And I'm calling that part of love. There's something you care about, and that's why you're here. And that, for me, is a beautiful reason to practice. Because there's something, and we each may call it a different name. Like I love freedom, right? And other people may love, kindness or compassion or the openness of the Dharma or whatever it might be. There's something we care about. Or just being free from suffering, which is a very classic reason we're here. But the word Dharma means truth. So I believe we're all loving the Dharma and loving the truth, because you can't meditate without loving the truth, because it doesn't work. That's if you didn't know that, I'm giving you the one really good thing in the talk. It won't work if you're not real, right? Like if we all came in here and sat down, we all pretended we're totally happy all the time because we want to be happy. It wouldn't work. It's not true, right? I mean, how many people came in feeling totally happy and joyous, and right? And so you can't pretend. What mindfulness asks us to be with is what's true, right? Irritation, tired, bored, interested, joyful, curious, whatever it might be, we want to be aware. Or it might be my body hurts, or it might be I'm thinking about what happened last night. I had dinner with these people, and they said this, and I said this, and I should have said that, and then we can be aware of our minds and our hearts and our bodies and what's true here. And that's what practice is about. And so what's paradoxical is if we get real with practice, our heart will come to the foreground at some point. our love will, what we care about will just flower at some point. And some point could take a sitting or 2 sittings or a week or 2 or a year or 2, but it'll happen. I have total faith in that because it's what's important. It's what we care about is related to our heart. And it might be, maybe, and I don't care what it is you care about. It doesn't have to be some perfect Dharma, bodhisattva ideal. You could care about money. Go ahead, go for it. If you really care about it, feel the caring. Don't just see the object of what you care about. Feel the caring, because that's where the juice is. That's where the life is. That's where the aliveness is. That's where the Dharma is, in the caring. Even the wanting, you could want something. You can want anything and be aware of the wanting, and it will begin to self-liberate and self-liberate each of us. And so partly I'm building up my case for it. To be really mindful means to love what's true, and that will lead to more love. And by saying love that's true, what's true, being real with what's actually here, moment by moment by moment. And so when the Dharma encourages us to love ourselves, that's what it's encouraging. Like what's really here, and can we be with it? Can we be open to it? Can we allow it? Can we be kind to it? And can we be open to when we're not kind to it? Because sometimes we're not. And that's part of being real. And that also, and you see how, I hope I'm saying it in a way where you see how it backs us up a little bit so we're not just cathected to what we're aware of. And I like the word cathected a lot these days. It means it's energetically connected. It's not just mentally connected. It's energetically connected to something. So we may think of something and we think, oh, I don't care about that. Well, if you really don't care about something, you're not cathected to it. But you may think something else, like I hate Donald Trump and I want to kill him, and you may be cathected to it, and you think, oh, I'm going to let go of that. And it doesn't happen because we're not feeling the cathexis. We're just aware of the idea. And we want to be aware of the aliveness that cathects us, that connects us energetically to our thought or our feeling or our body. And all of this takes a devotion to practice, to waking up, to discovering what's true. So one of my old friends, Ajahn Suchito, who is an English monastic, he said, because we hold ourselves dear, we maintain careful self-regard both day and night. And my translation of that, because we hold ourselves dear, kindly, compassionately, lovingly, we maintain careful self-regard, mindfulness, we're aware, both day and night. The practice becomes 24/7. It's not just when we're sitting. We hold ourselves dear all the time. Because if we don't, who will? And hopefully some other people will, but it's up to us also. Because if we can hold ourselves dear, kindly, caringly, lovingly, we can hold other people dear. And we're all here together. And so Buddhism keeps asking for this paradoxical unity between what's called the two truths, which is not the Four Noble Truths, the two truths. There's relative truth and there's ultimate truth. Relative truth and ultimate truth. And what I love about the paradox of the relative and ultimate truth is they're equally true. They're equally true. And when I first heard about the two truths, I was all about ultimate truth. Okay, let's get rid of this relative crap of, like relating to people and dealing with stuff and shopping and all of relative reality. I'm like, let's get to the ultimate. I want to be free. I want to be liberated. I don't want any of this. Who needs this crap of life and everything? But it took me quite a while to learn really the value and the beauty and the truth that is talked about in Zen practice of the relative truth and the ultimate truth are both different and equally true. They're equally true. And the real beauty is the relative truth is the doorway to the ultimate truth. Because the doorway to ultimate truth is right here, and we're here like in San Francisco, and this is the doorway to the ultimate truth, like wherever we are in relative reality. So one of the paradoxes of the love that's being encouraged by practice is that we can't make it happen. Meaning we can't just mechanically make it happen. You ever try to do that? You ever have like somebody fall in love with you and you try to mechanically be loving, oh yeah, I love you too. No way. That's not how love works. Love happens from somewhere bigger than us, right? It's the great heart of awakening. That's where love comes from. Even relative love, it comes from beyond us. Because have you ever noticed if you fall in love with someone and they're like not interested in you, your love doesn't go away, right? It stays. The love's there. There's nothing you can do. You may not want to hang out with them or be around them if they're not relating to you, but you feel that love. And I've been in plenty of relationships in my life. Actually, it's wild to get older. I'm not 40 or under or anything, and I'm old enough. So now I feel like I've had multiple lives in this life. Right? Buddhism talks about past lives. I've had them this life already. It's wild to think back different people and times I've lived with or married or whatever. It's like, boy. But as Thomas Merton, great Christian mystic, really, said, true love and prayer are learned in the hour when love becomes impossible and the heart has turned to stone. True love and prayer are learned in the hour when love becomes impossible and the heart has turned to stone. Because you can't stop it, right? No matter how pissed you are, sick of somebody, I've had it with them, it's under there fueling our reactivity. And it's part of the paradox of romantic love is that the Dharma is pointing at a bigger love out of which romantic love is a subset of. The love of the freedom or love of everybody. Right? How's that for love? That's always like the most interesting kind of love, when you feel like you love everybody. Anybody ever have that feeling? Like, yeah? No, it's good. It kind of amazes me sometimes when I'm walking around and I start feeling this love for people I don't know. And I don't even care about them, but it's there. And I live near the park these days, Golden Gate Park, and I walk in the park a lot, and I'll start having this love for these people, and it's, there's no reason, which is really kind of beautiful in retrospect, but but in the moment, I'm always so surprised because it's just love, and I'm not doing it. It's there. So I realized I missed one thing I was trying to throw in earlier in the talk. I'm going to put it in now. There was something I was saying where I was talking about backing up to know things. We want the big picture because the big picture gives us a whole different perspective than the small individual picture we usually have. And so the big picture is what Buddhism is pointing at and keeps asking us to let go of our small identity. And what Suzuki Roshi used to say, he said there's the small self and big self. And big self in Buddhism also equates to the no self or non-self experience, that there's something here that's bigger than each of us. And we're all discovering that as we practice and as we live at times. We often are trained to recognize self and not self, or the bigger picture that includes not just me, but everyone, but all of us, including Donald Trump, right? Including people we may not like so much. So Krishnamurti, who was a Advaita teacher in the last century, he said, he's talking about relationship. He says, using another as a means of satisfaction and security is not love. Right? Using another, a person, as a means of satisfaction and security is not love. Love is never security. Love is never secure. Love is a state in which there is no desire to be secure. It is a state of vulnerability. And I'm going to add on Eugene Cash, it's a state of openness. It's a state of seeing clearly that everything is happening on its own, including people that we like or don't like. The whole show is happening on its own. Life is happening on its own and has been for a long time and may happen forever. Who knows? And who knows where it's happening? Meaning, I have this one, I'm not a big social media computer guy in general, but I get one thing every day. I get a new picture of the cosmos every day, which is totally wild. And this is new for me, so I'm excited about it. This is from NASA. And you can join whatever I join to get it. And you get these pictures, like I got some picture of the moon from Saturn today, and it's just, but often it's other things. I don't even know what the hell they're sending me, but it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, this is where we are, right? And this is the big picture of where we are. It's not just, oh, the little Earth, this is the whole picture. No, it's a bigger picture. And so part of Dharma is asking us to start to recognize the bigger picture that's sitting right here. And I'm going to point at it a little bit for each of us, and you could see what you think. Because the reason why we stress awareness is because you're not doing the awareness, right? When we say be aware, right? And of course mindfulness is a subset of awareness. But be aware. If you're aware of are you all aware of me right now? Right? Stop being aware of me. Right? Can you do that?
No.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for helping me and making my talk quicker. Because we're not doing the awareness. It's the water we swim in, right? And so we never notice it. But if I ask you to stop being aware, you can't do it. And you may be able to change the focus of what you're aware of, right? I can focus on the clock right now, and maybe I'll just be aware of the clock, but I'm still aware, right? I can't stop the awareness. And that's a really interesting part of the not-self experience That's not something we're doing, but it makes up all of our life. There's no experience without awareness, right? We're all very affected to different experiences we have that we like or we don't like, or good or bad or right or wrong or cool or not cool or whatever your language might be. But we're all affected to experience, and we only know experience because of awareness, and we're not doing the awareness. I like that paradox very much. I'll end with a quote. I have a lot of great quotes, but way too many to read. Okay. Okay, I'll go here. Since I'm a little bit talking about selflessness, I'm going to quote my friend Joseph Goldstein, who said, "The expression of emptiness is love." The expression of emptiness is love. And here you hear the paradox there. The expression of emptiness is love, because emptiness means emptiness of self. When there is no self, there is no other. When there is no self, there is no other. That duality is created by the idea of self, of I, of the ego. When there's no self, there's a unity, a communion. And without the thought of unloving someone, love becomes the natural expression of that oneness. So wait, I'll do one more because it ties in from Ajahn Sumedho. He said, enlightenment is practical. It's something each of us can realize. We are all capable of moving into the position of being awake. And when we're awake and balanced and wise, we can love. This is the maturing of the human being. When there is wisdom, one naturally relates to others with love. Love is wisdom's natural radiance. Love is wisdom's natural radiance. That's a good line for me to end on. So, and I like to end a little early and see what you have to say, what you think. Make any sense what I said, any questions, any reactions, any I liked it or I hated it, really, because that's all real, and I'm very comfortable, and it makes it a little more alive here in the room what we're talking about. And so I'll sit here for a second. You can raise your hand. If nobody raises their hand, I'll call on somebody who doesn't have the raise hand. And that makes it more alive. Please.
You talked about not being able to make ourselves fall in love with somebody in a romantic way.
Right.
So I'm interested then, I have some thoughts about how I might do it, but how can I, with all of the negative judgments I have about Donald Trump,
Right.
how can I make myself care about him?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question. Because remember, I'm not saying you have to like him. And your not liking has a lot of energy, I would imagine. And that's important, alive energy. And if you let that energy really live without just acting on it, it can start to open you up even more. And that's where dukkha, suffering, can lead to the end of suffering. And as suffering ends, like Ajahn Sumedho said, he said, with the maturing of human beings, there is wisdom, and one naturally relates to others with love. So the love is seeing from the big picture that I was pointing at. He's just a guy. That's all Donald Trump is. He's just some guy who's suffering. And seeing his suffering can help bring your heart forward in how you relate to him. But you do not have to like him. And that's key, because we often think love means I like somebody, and that's a nice thing, but so is that helpful?
Yes.
Great, because because I'm not liking this guy much at all, but he's just a guy. That's all he is. He could be sitting in this room given different circumstances in his life, because we're here because of certain circumstances. Please, hi.
So first of all, I wanted to thank you for the not only a fine Buddhist talk, but the best political talk that I've heard in some time. And I just wanted to share with the group here that this is the third thing that's happened in less than 24 hours that causes me to feel better than I have over the past 3 months.
Yeah.
The first one was the protest last evening in the Civic Center, which I went to with some members of the Gay Intellectual Salon, which also meets here. And what was striking about it was that it wasn't about hate.
Great.
It was about welcoming immigrants, not kill Trump. And the second thing was, because my spouse, we don't have cable, so we only get ABC, so he has it on all the time. And it was an interview with Senator Ben Sasse, Republican of Nebraska. And it was wonderful. As people may know, he was the first one who came out against Trump, but it wasn't that was wonderful. It was that it was sane, sensible, even-handed, non-hateful, and so forth. I've looked up a little bit about him since, and he was elected 2.5 years ago in Nebraska by a huge margin in a Republican state. So what that and a lot of other things leads me to see is that there are a huge number of people in the United States and other places that are not happy with the way things are going. They're suffering. And there's other people that are suffering more, but we look at ourselves.
Sure.
And I sort of see the election of Trump in this setting as an act of desperation. So people, including the establishment, the elite, Democrats, us, we need to recognize some of the suffering of others and find a way to be responsive.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful, and that's part of what's being, I hope, pointed to in general is, each side has its pluses and minuses, and we've had our pluses and minuses also. And a lot of people in this country didn't feel seen, right? And they voted a different way than most people in the Bay Area voted. And so we're all, that's where he's a catalyst for us to wake up. So, great. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Eugene. You spoke of the paradox of the relative and the ultimate truth. Can you give us an example of a pairing of those two that we might better relate to?
It's everyone. Let me think if I can give. What do you mean by parent? What are you looking for?
Well, I think when you were talking, you mentioned how, we might think one thing and yet there's something else out there.
Right.
I was
Okay.
kind of wrestling with that, but
Yeah.
maybe not getting it.
Sure. Well, the paradox, simple, since I'm talking about self and not self, that's a beautiful understanding of what's being pointed at. So the Buddha didn't say there's no self. There is a self, and the self is very normal. It's normal to have, and if I speak psychologically, it's very normal to have an ego structure. That's a very normal thing. But the ultimate perspective is that's not who we are. Right? There's something much bigger here. Or even bigger is a tricky word because it implies bigger, smaller. I don't like that. But it's pointing, there's something other than the small sense of self, which Suzuki Roshi would say, and what we call big sense of self, because there's something more to who and what we are that's related to the ultimate. So it's all right here. And so, and we all have some, I believe, this is my belief, we all have some intuition of that already. We all know there's more to who we are than our ideas or our beliefs or what happened to us or what didn't happen. There's something more here, or there's, there's, and we see it at times will function. It'll work, meaning it'll even function in relative reality. And so it's like when shit happens and all of a sudden somebody acts like a saint, because that's what's needed. They didn't do it. It came through them. And so that's a little bit relative and ultimate. Ultimate reality is, it's totally magical what's sitting right here. And we're all going around and, cleaning our houses, right? Which is relative and important. Don't stop cleaning your house. But don't also keep looking at what is it that's cleaning your house. I hope that's a little helpful.
When you say, like, the saint emerges and does something, it just happens, what comes up for me is like, there's some karma going on there, so it's like my emotions about Trump. I mean, what I'm getting a lot from your talk is pointing to like equanimity, right? Like the big equanimity.
Great.
And the reactivity I might experience that's emotional,
Yes.
right? And just tense, whatever, about things I might hear in the news.
Yeah.
When I really try to pull the lens back far, what comes in, what it kind of connects to what you're saying is like, that's karma, like that's how I was raised. The things that came to me since I was born that has led me to see the world and react and respond in a certain way.
Right.
And everybody has their own story in that way.
Yeah, good.
And these are all kind of bopping up against each other, one another.
Yeah.
And that's where, I guess that's my takeaway, I guess, is like that. But I don't necessarily see that it just happens, like you say. I guess that doesn't resonate with me quite as much.
What happens?
Well, when you say like a crisis happens and then somebody does the good thing and it just comes out of nowhere.
Well, when I'm saying nowhere, I mean it's surprising. It comes from somewhere, but the somewhere may have some karmic relationship that you're pointing at, but it also may come from some karmic relationship that's not relative. Meaning, and this is something that's in Buddhism, Buddha would say if you really try to understand karma, you'll go crazy. Because it's so deep, karma, because really the whole karma of the whole human race is sitting right there, right? Yeah. Okay, so the Buddha is sitting right here, right? And so that's what I mean, like it comes from somewhere else. Okay. I'm just trying to get in line with you.
It's like, not out of nowhere. I mean, that sounds like the universal energy comes flowing through and like shades or something like that. But I mean,
what comes from anywhere?
Right. But it is causes and conditions.
Causes and conditions is one of the ways we can talk about. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, it's a really good way to talk about it, but in fact, who the fuck knows what's going on or where anything comes from? Again, you're getting a little my opinion here. I'm not going to try to be total, but but meaning it's all wild, the whole thing, and it's magical in some sense. Okay, we've got about
time for
one more. Okay.
I love your use of the word cathexis. And it occurred to me, well, could we become cathected with awareness?
That's an interesting question. I haven't.
Seems to me that's what meditation is.
We could be cathected to meditation. I don't think we could be cathected to awareness because there's nothing there.
Wouldn't be awareness.
Well, where is the awareness? Where is your awareness right now?
Yeah, just here.
It's in my I think it's in my body and the synapses in my brain.
Okay, that's a nice thought. You know, I don't think so. You know, because
there's relative awareness and ultimate awareness.
Pardon?
If there's relative awareness and ultimate
that's good. That's a good way to speak about it. Yeah, no, that's very helpful, because that may be one way we can begin to distinguish. But also, at least some people have experienced other people after they've died. And so there might be some kind of awareness there after we die. So what part of the brain is it in then? Right? You know, I'm making my case here, but it's really interesting. Who knows? Who knows? And we'll all see. That's the cool thing. That's why it's good to stay awake now, because we can stay. The more we can stay awake, the more we'll stay awake everywhere, even when we die. And my favorite retreat that I taught this year was a Maranasati retreat, Mindfulness of Death. Very cool. Come check it out next year. It's very fun. Or this year. Okay. So I think that's we're at time. Great to be here with you all. Thank you.
Perfect that we end on a paradox.
Of course.
Next week our speaker will be John Burney. He's a contemporary spiritual teacher focused on the unfolding of natural wakefulness, the already enlightened basic state that lies at the core of human experience. So he's going to piggyback on Eugene.
Yeah. I remember John when he was a Vipassana student, but now he's more enlightened.
There's a paradox. So Dana is the Pali word for giving. It's what sustains our Sangha, allows us to meet in this beautiful space and hear from wonderful teachers and put out our newsletter and support prisoners and many other things. So please be generous. Suggested donation of $8 or $10, right around there, more if you feel so inclined. And we have a host. Where's Mike?
I'm Mike, and I'm the host, and there are some snacks out there, mostly healthful, but a few that...
Okay. And tea and whatnot. There's also a sign-up list out on the credenza next to the Dana Bowl. So if you're not already on the list, you can get on that. It's a Yahoo group that puts out, emails and stuff. But you'll also be put on the directory if you so choose. The paper directory. Other announcements, Michael.
Yeah, GBF is hosting a day-long retreat in March. It's Saturday, March the 25th. Heather Sundberg is our teacher, and the theme is celebrating community, generosity, and gratitude. There is no registration fee for the retreat, but we do ask that you contribute generously for Heather's teaching. It's a little under 7 weeks away, but we do encourage you to register as soon as possible. It will help us with our planning for lunch, etc. There are flyers on the coffee table, or what in my Irish Catholic family was called the cocktail table. There's a link for online registration on the flyer. Please join us.
And you need to pick up the flyer because this is not on our website or out on the email list because we don't want, 1,000 people showing up for a free lunch or something. Jim?
Yes. The San Francisco Buddhist Center here would like to get more chairs. And we bought these chairs, and we can't figure out who bought them or where they got it from. So if you had any role in securing these black chairs, please share the information so we can pass it on. Thank you. Was it Ray?
Ray Dyer. Was it Ray?
Okay.
And if you check into that,
I think they got them at
Prasada Chita and I noticed that the newer ones actually have inferior skids on the bottom. They've already worn through. The metal is hitting the wood. It's ruining the wood. So we had to
On these?
Yeah.
Some of them.
On some of them. We turned them so that we've got another maybe 6 months or a year of life out of them. But
Oh,
it
okay,
goes
I'll
through
pass
the
it
armor.
on.
The original ones have a big, thick skid on them, and the other ones are kind of flimsy. So,
Huh. Okay, thanks.
for what it's worth.
Progress.
What's that?
Progress.
Progress. Any other announcements? Okay, let's gather in a circle for our dedication of merit. By the power and truth of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all be freed from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all never be separated from the sacred happiness which is without sorrow. And may all live in equanimity, without too much attachment or too much aversion, believing in the equality of all that lives.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.